So story number one. This guy told me that his dad, back in 1957, I think, was a trucker. And he had routes that would go back and forth between, I think it was like Detroit and New York, just back and forth, back and forth. He gets a load that he's never had before. They have a load of car parts for him, but they want him to take it to northern Florida. He's never been to northern Florida before. He's mainly only been up in that part of the country, so he's like, sure, I'll try something new. And he takes a load of car parts, and right as he gets about maybe a few miles outside of Atlanta, he picks up this guy who was hitchhiking on the side of the road. When he stops to pick the guy up, he notices that he's standing next to a black Cadillac with the hood up, and you can see smoke coming out of the hood and everything. And he picks the guy up. He asks him, where you headed? He's like, oh man, just drop me off at the next town or whatever you think would have a garage. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And he's talking to the guy, and couldn't distinguish him from any other normal person. Guy seemed pretty legit. He was just on his way to Southern Florida, and his car broke down. So he asked the guy, where in Southern Florida are you trying to get to? He's like, oh, I'm trying to get to that Palm Beach County area. He's like, oh, well, I'm headed that way. Would you want me to drop you and get a mechanic, or do you want me to get you to your destination and have someone come fetch your car later? He's like, yeah, sure, yeah, let's do that. Right as he comes into the border of Florida, the guy starts acting really weird. And it didn't really occur to him originally when he picked him up, but it was late fall, and he noticed the guy's wearing a lot of clothes for this part of the country. It's hot. You know what I mean? And he just didn't really think about it until after the fact. And the guy at one point starts scratching and itching himself and just acting really strange. And at one point, the guy, while he's scratching, it lifts up the sleeve of his shirt a little bit, and he can see another layer of clothing underneath it that's all orange. And I'm thinking, orange? Did they have jumpsuits back then in prisons? I don't know. He's like, damn, this guy's wearing 2 layers, and it's 85, 90 degrees out here. So he keeps driving. The guy's getting more and more irate. Gets to the point where the trucker starts getting pissed off. He's starting to get annoyed with the guy because he's getting really aggressive and curt and just unpleasant to talk with now, even though he was really nice originally when he first picked him up. And the guy is like, you know what, maybe it'd be better if I just dropped you off at the next town. And the guy loses his fucking mind and starts talking about, if you drop me off somewhere, I'm gonna kill you. Whoa. So now, very long, awkward ride, as you can imagine. He just keeps driving him down south. The thing that he thought was weird, though, is at some point, when they really did finally have to stop because he needed fuel, and he told the guy, I'm too tired to drive. You don't know how to drive a truck, especially those trucks back then were stick shifts. He's like, I need to sleep. And the guy, after much argument, finally agrees. They pull over, they get fuel. He makes them drive a little bit further down the road, down a dirt road, middle of nowhere. At this point, they're in swamp territory in northern Florida. He said, this guy from New Hampshire told me that his dad pretended to sleep to see if the other guy would fall asleep because he sat in the passenger seat the whole time. He didn't move from the passenger seat. After a few hours of pretending to be asleep, because homeboy's dad was in the military, so he had no problems going very long periods of time without sleep, so he was able to fake being asleep, no problem. The guy in the passenger seat was just mumbling to himself all fucking night and was just staring out the window, and the only occasional word that he could pick up was about a demon and his Cadillac. So the guy, I guess, gets out at one point, maybe to take a piss or something, and old buddy leans over, slams the door, locks it, cranks up the truck, and takes off. Now, they were in a dirt road. He made him pull into a dirt road. Now, he told the guy, if you pull me down this dirt road, there's no room to make a U-turn. I don't know how you expect me to get out of here once you pull me into this road, but the guy forced him down this road. It was just it was barely even a dirt road. It was more like a fucking mud trail that might have led to someone's farm. So he peels out, because back then they didn't have like we have with the trailer pullers. He drove. It was like the truck was attached to the box part of the truck, so it was more like a box truck. He takes off, goes down the road quite a ways until finally he's like, I can't go anymore. The mud's getting thicker and it's starting to get like rainy out. I'm gonna get stuck and this fucking psycho is gonna catch up to me and kill me. So he finally finds a place where he can do a U-turn. He makes the U-turn. He drives back down the dirt road and he's trying to keep an eye out because he knows this guy, he left him there, so he's gonna have to probably pass him again to get out back onto the road. But he didn't find the guy per se. When he got within maybe a couple 100 feet of the highway, where he could see the highway, off on the left side of this muddy road was what looked to be the exact same Cadillac, still smoking from under the hood, with the hood up. And as he drove past it, he swears to God he saw the hitchhiker in the driver's seat screaming out of control but not making any noise. He couldn't tell if the window was up or down or whatever. How the fuck did the car get there, first off? And second off, what the fuck was this guy's issue? So he drove past him and he said all he remembers is the guy was grabbing the steering wheel, mouth open as if in a really loud scream, pulling back and forth on the steering wheel with no sound coming out of his mouth in that Cadillac. And old buddy just got back on the road and kept going. He called law enforcement when he got to a place that had a phone, and they never found him. No Cadillac, not even signs of there being a car stuck in the mud. And that is a weird story. Second one is not so much creepy, it's weird. So, this one actually came from a female trucker, which I guess in this particular capacity would make it creepier from a woman's standpoint. So this girl, she'd been riding with Prime Incorporated, my company, for maybe 3 years, maybe. And she said that she was driving through her own hometown out near Houston, Texas, and she was really, really tired, and she was driving down the road. I forgot which highway she said she was on. I don't think it matters because this didn't happen on a highway. It happened on like a state highway. And if you've ever been through Texas, they have a lot of them. So I don't know where in Texas this happened. Only that she was on her way to Houston, coming from, I think she said, Alabama. So she's driving, it's broad daylight outside. She's driving down this road. Now, Prime has a policy, we're not allowed to pick up hitchhikers. You have to have a passenger permit, which is usually only authorized for friends, family, wives, girlfriends, pets. Otherwise you're not allowed to have another body in the truck. She feels really bad though, because she sees this African-American gentleman. She's also African-American. She sees this African-American gentleman on the side of the road wearing like a tank top and shorts, flip-flops, and he's got this what looks to be a really heavy like duffel bag wrapped around his shoulder, and he just looks fucking miserable. She said it must have been 105 degrees outside, and he was probably at least a 15 to 20 mile walk to the nearest anything. So she felt bad. So she stops, asks him if he needs a ride. At first, the guy refuses. And he's like, no, I'm good. And she's like, dude, you're going to have a heat stroke out here. You need to get in the truck and at least cool down, have some water. If you don't want to ride with me, fine. But at least get in the truck, cool down, and drink some water. He's like, okay, fine. So he hops in the truck. He chugs back like a bottle and a half of water before he immediately starts to complain about having a stomach ache. Which, again, only makes the story all the fucking weirder in my book. Fucking ghosts can drink water. Anyway, he puts the bag in the back, and they talk a little bit. Turns out he's a pretty decent sounding fella. So she's like, you sure you don't want that ride? And he's like, alright, yeah, sure. So they take off. They drive for 3 hours or so down the road before her clock starts getting close to winding down. And he's like, she's like, hey, where do you want me to drop you off? I picked you up, but I never really asked you where you want to get out. I thought you would just tell me. And he's like, oh, I'm content to go as far as you'll take me. And she's like, okay. So they go to a truck. They eventually gets to the point where now they got to stop at a truck stop. She's got to log off and get some sleep. But this guy's still in her truck. So, would you sleep with a hitchhiker in your truck? I wouldn't. I'd be like, well, it's been fun, buddy. Get out. Here's some money for a bus or an Uber or whatever, but I gotta go to sleep and you ain't staying in my fucking truck. She told him that, basically the same thing, saying, hey, you need to get out. Guy didn't want to leave. Got really uppity about, well, you took me this far, what's the plan? I thought, we had a connection or something and whatever. And she starts getting mad creep vibes off the guy. So she tries to get out of the truck. He won't let her. He grabs her arm, pulls her back into the truck. She, being the badass that she was, cocked it back, fucking let him have it, right in the face. Bop. And she started swinging. And I guess he was so unprepared for it. And she said he was a decently in shape dude. He wasn't a small fry. He was a normal size dude, about my size. And she just wailed on his fucking ass. And the thing that she doesn't understand to this day is she admits that while she was wailing and beating him up, she had her eyes closed. She was, swinging and smacking, but her eyes were shut. She hit him once. She hit him twice. She hit him 3 times. And then she was swinging at air. She finally opens her eyes after like another 20 seconds of throwing it, and, haymakers at him. Dude's gone. Bag in the back is gone. She didn't hear the door open or close. The window wasn't even up, or it wasn't even down. Dude just fucking poofed out of the passenger seat mid-ass whooping. And I was like, I can't even chalk that one up to being tired. Like, you touched him? She's like, yeah, I touched him. He was there. And I'm like, and he drank the water? She's like, and he drank water, and he had some of my snacks. He drank water, he ate, and I could touch him, but he just disappeared out of my truck. And I was like, that's one for the record books. That's fucking creepy. What the hell? Like, is he a ghost? Was he something else? Like, how does that work? Like, at least with most of these vanishing hitchhiker stories that you hear on the road, there's never any physical contact. So it leaves you to wonder, like, if I would have tried to have touched them, would my hand have, like, faded through them? Would I have felt some weird energy? You don't know, because usually they don't. I mean, it's a hitchhiker in your truck. You're not going to be like, oh, hey, buddy. And most of the other hitchhiker stories that I've heard, they don't drink, they don't eat, they don't even yawn, they eat shit. They don't seem to really consume anything or act any kind of weird way. They usually just kind of are there, chatty, but they're just there. And then I got another one from Florida. This one creeps me out a lot too, because I had a similar experience when I was a kid. So when I was a kid, I almost died many times. But the one that was actually not my fault, because it wasn't me being stupid, it was just one of those like, holy fuck kid, you could have died. My house is at the bottom of a hill, a really steep hill. And I used to ride up the hill, all the way up past our property, past a bunch of duplexes, and then at the top of the hill, like a mile away from the house, don't ask me why they fucking put this here or why it's like this, but a mile away from the house was our mailbox. So one day I'm riding my bike up the hill to get to our mailbox. And as I'm about halfway up this hill, I hear a distinct sound. I didn't know what it was at the time, but being older, wiser, and having been through a lot more dumb shit, I know it now as a bullet whizzing past my head. And I hear the, and then the of asphalt going flying. The asphalt hit my leg. It didn't penetrate skin, but it stung. And then, I heard the crack, like 0.2 seconds after the impact. I stopped my bike, like, the fuck was that? Mind you, I was like 13, 14. I turn around, and there was a dude out in the overgrowth, in the middle of the dirt road, about halfway to the orange groves. No truck, no trailer, no friends, no dog. Just a dude out there with a rifle. Now, my thinking is he was probably pigeon hunting, because we had a lot of pigeons, quail, turkeys, a lot of different edible birds. So what my thinking is he probably aimed up, and as he was aiming up to shoot the bird, didn't realize he was aiming up the hill, and when he fired, he missed, and the bullet missed the bird, and kept traveling and landed right next to me in the asphalt, and almost. When I say next to me, I mean it was close enough that when the bullet hit the asphalt, I felt the asphalt hit my ankle, and it stung like a bitch. That bullet was close, and it had to have been a decent caliber too, because it left a hole about this deep in the asphalt. I pulled it out days later when I accidentally found it, and the crushed round was like this tall, so it had to have been something extremely unnecessary for hunting pigeons or turkeys. I mean, it wasn't a buckshot round, it wasn't a slug round, it was a 7.62 or a 5.56 or some kind of rifle round, 30-06, I don't know. I was a kid, I don't remember what it looked like well enough. I mean, if I saw it now, I could probably tell you right off the top of my head. But as a kid, I just know this is a crushed bullet, and it's big. So I turn around on my bike, terrified out of my fucking mind, thinking, oh my god, he's shooting at me. And what do? Like, you go back down the hill towards the motherfucker to get back to the safety of your home, or you keep trying to ride uphill, and you're going to be slow as hell trying to get out of, there's nowhere to hide around you. So I basically just grabbed my bike. I don't know why I didn't pedal, but I grabbed my bike, and I just darted 90 degrees to the left, and just ran into the overgrowth and got down and started crawling. I crawled for, it felt like an eternity, but with the adrenaline factor, I'm probably going to say about 5-10 minutes before I realized, nothing's happening, and I just stood still. And I sat there, face down in the fucking dirt, sand, and getting bit by ants, eaten up by mosquitoes, roasting in the hot Florida sun for the better part of what I would say 2 hours before I finally poked my head up and realized he's gone. But again, I didn't hear a truck drive by, and there was only one way in, one way out. There is no other direction that this guy could have come from. There's no other way out. The field that he was in was surrounded by overgrowth and abandoned orange groves. Unless his truck can teleport through trees, there's no way to get out. He'd have to drive past me. I never heard a truck. I never heard a vehicle. Where the fuck did this guy go? And the trees? If you go past the trees, we're surrounded by swamps and a lake. So I guess maybe he could have ran into the trees, gotten in a boat and left. Now it would have been a first. I mean, we've seen trucks go down there plenty of times and shoot pigeon and quail and all that stuff. It was nothing new. They just had the common sense not to aim the guns at the house or the street that was next to the house, because you could have shoot somebody. So this story I got from Florida, it's not a trucker story. This guy was just driving his regular car, and he was a worker at it's a service plaza on the turnpike. I can't remember which one, but it was a service plaza on the turnpike going south, and he told me that he was in his car. He was driving recklessly fast to get home after a long day of work. He has a similar style neighborhood that I had. The only difference being that on the other side of the street, there was another house. So it's just two houses across from each other out in the boonies of Florida. Now, his property is different than mine was, as far as, instead of it being Florida overgrowth or abandoned orange groves and wheat fields and stuff, his is just a big open flat span of grassland. It's more like they don't use it as a farm, but it's more like a pasture. Mostly flat, little hilly, all grass. Put it to you this way, nowhere to hide. Every once in a while, when he would come home from work, he liked to take his truck, or car, or whatever it was, and he'd do a couple donuts in the yard. He goes out there to do a couple donuts, he's whipping the shit around, he's having fun. decides to pull back into the driveway, gets out of the car, and he hears pa 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 pa. And he's like, oh, those aren't fireworks. But this is Florida. Gunshots are nothing new. In fact, I'm pretty sure it rains more lead here than rain. So he thinks nothing of it. He goes inside, takes a shower, eats some dinner, goes to bed. 2 o'clock in the morning, really close to the house. Bah, 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 bah. And he's just like, what the fuck? Okay, so he, being a good old-fashioned redneck like myself, he has guns. So, like any smart person would do, they call the cops. He grabs his hunting rifle, starts looking out the windows, closing blinds and shit. He gets to the last room of the house, goes to close the blinds, and sees a woman standing outside of the door, looking at him. Like, looking at him. Scares the shit out of him. He instinctively, holds the rifle at her. Doesn't flinch. Doesn't move. Doesn't make a sound. He's freaking out, obviously, and he starts yelling at her, like, are you okay? Are you being shot at? Is someone after you? Was that you shooting? Why won't you answer me? Yada yada, yada yada yada. The cops show up. He runs to the front door. Hey, there's a woman in the back. I don't know what her deal is. I don't know if she's armed or what, but there's a woman in the back of my house. And they're like, okay, did you hear any gunshots recently? As he said that, bam, 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 bam. And I mean like rapid fire. Like someone's got like an AK out there and they're just going ham. Which is, again, it's Florida shit. It's common. Cops run around the back of the house. No girl. There's nowhere to hide on this property. No one can run that fast. He said, at most, she could have made it 100 feet before the cops ran around the back of the house. Nowhere to be found. He said they even pulled out a helicopter with a searchlight. Nothing. No one couldn't even figure out where the gunshots came from. No one runs that fast. Nothing human or normal runs that fast. This guy lived on like 19 acres of land. That's weird. Was she a skinwalker and she was being hunted? I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. Well, that's weird. But the whole thing about the gunshots and then the person just disappearing. Anyway, so those are 3 more that I picked up. But have a great night, y'all.